Welcome to Channel AMEC, your insight to the Australian visa system. Good day everyone, my name is Gao Yang, your online YouTube visa consultant. Now in today's video, I would like to share with you some updates about the GTI, Global Talent Independent, and also some recommendation coming out from the industry that recommending the immigration of Australia for their upcoming skill migration. But before we begin, why don't you consider to subscribe to my channel? And so once we have all the updates and news, you'll be the first one getting all the insights, and turn on a little bell on the side also. Okay, now what we're gonna do with the updates of this week's Australian visa news. First of all, is that I have personally attended the what the Department of Immigration and the Migration Alliance had announced with the event, basically call for the expansion of Global Talent Independent Program. Now, one thing that I learned from the actual meeting, I think the government of Australia is looking to review the global temporary employment scheme, where I think they're getting not enough numbers of applicants and attractions for the business employers in the innovation sector. But in saying that, they are looking to expand with their current global talent independent visa by ways of double or perhaps tripling the numbers of applicants. So this website is basically you can find out from typing globalaustralia.gov.au. You'll be able to land yourself at this web page. The page is created by the Government of Australia, or obviously Department of Home Affairs and Immigration sector. And the best thing that you can do is, the first page is phenomenal. It's a lot of animations, but it doesn't say anything. The problem is it doesn't say anything apart from showing some photographs. Look very, very successful and very, very innovative, and some experts comments and testimonial there. But the main thing here is at the top, it's basically spelling out why the top talent around the world should pick and should choose Australia as their permanent home. Also the industries. So previously, as you know, we can only go into the global talent contact form where it shows all the different industries. Now they have putting all these into this web page here, and it looks pretty phenomenal, because the advanced manufacturing, including critical mineral, space, defense, food and agriculture. I'm not too sure how food and agriculture is categorized under advanced manufacturing. Probably is for processed food, recycling, cleaning, energy, health and life sciences with biomedical technology, and the finance with the fintech here. I noticed previously I do see infrastructures and others. I'm not too sure why this isn't listed here, but I think because the website is created, they should have more updates coming up. So the eligibility will actually tells you they're looking for high yield businesses. Now, how are they gonna do that? We haven't really actually seen the actual things, but I do believe in the coming July 2021, that will be included into their business investment visa BIP program. Exceptional talent is where we have been focused on for the past month or years. And then if we're looking at obviously a detail, you should be able to find that all information from my previous video. Anyhow, the meat of this video today is not just an announcement of the Global Talent web page. It's another recommendation that came out a couple of days ago. Let's get into and have a look. Okay, now I might need to minimize a bit so you can read the whole thing. Now, this actually came out from consultancy.com.au, where, as you can see, profile, it's KPMG is one of the the four largest accounting and taxation consultancy firm, where they have provided 9 recommendations to the Australia's skill migration program. So I found this fascinating and also very interesting. Thus, I wanted to share with you. Now, bear in mind, this is not the actual final decision for the upcoming skill migration of Australia. It's actually recommended by KPMG. Now, the Big Fours has histories in the past by recommending visa programs or perhaps certain criteria for different countries. Now, they do this all the time for Australia. Now, this year I found that the KPMG is quite interested. Now, this is published on the 7th of April. Now, today is the 10th, so 3 days ago. So let me read it out and share with you. And at the very end, I'll provide my summary and my thoughts about the recommendations. So in this submission to Parliamentary Inquiry, Australia's Skill Migration Program, KPMG had put forward a recommendation that can help Australia bring back skilled migrants that left the country during COVID-19 pandemic and to attract new migrants to provide much needed skills and fill the gaps of these skills. So what they're going to do, the first recommendation is conduct a review into potential application of risk-based approach to vaccinate travelers, while currently working with our counterparts to increase access of vaccines in low-income countries. So what does that mean? That means as a nation of Australia is still in the concern. Of course, they wanted to open up their border to allow international travelers to come into Australia, but the only problem here is the risk. Okay, that's why it says risk-based, because if we got people coming in and bring the viruses into Australia, it will cause a lot of problem. It will cause a public health issue again. And as a nation of Australia in a southern hemisphere, it's actually very, very risky towards its economic growth if that happens. And that's why Australia and New Zealand has been kept very, very secure during the year of 2020. So that's the first recommendation, which I agree with. Of course, I got families and friends there. I do not want them to suffer as what we've seen on news for, in Europe and America. Okay, recommendation 2. Consider a range of measures to make Australia attractive to young skilled migrants, including, now this is very, very important. I think they make the point too. Making post-study work right easier and last longer. Well, I agree with that. Okay, making it easier. Well, how can they make it easier? Does a study 1 year would do, or study 2 year, or maybe they will include the trades? Because previously the trades are under 485 graduate work stream, where they can only access 1.5 year 18 months of work rights, but the post-study who study bachelor or above, they can access to 2 years, or in regional 3 years or 4 years. Now that's a disadvantage to the trades professional. Would they make it easier and last longer? I think that's one thing we can talk about. Adding further permanent residency point to those post-study work right, I agree with that. So I think the current system does provide that advantage already, because if you do have Australian work experiences, you will gain points. However, they might want to share how Canada has done, where some of the province, I think it's nationally in Canada, correct me if I'm wrong, they add points. It does the point is added as long as you have work experiences. It doesn't have to be the closely related to your occupation. So that's another thing. Adding even further permanent residency point where both course and post-study work right are in the area of school shortage. Now that's I I agree with that. Introducing a accelerated pathway to residency program for regional students based on updated skill list. I think they already done that. However, whether or not that is required to be further advanced, maybe. Okay. Recommendation 3: consider development of the package of COVID-19 temporary concession to help address the immediate shortfall of work in regional Australia, including temporary removal of labour market tests. 4. Employment sponsor stream: older age limit, low English requirement worker applying temporary visa and permanent residency in regional area. Now, I totally agree with that because currently the labour market testing has become I think it's really redundant, whereby they're required to have post to pay job ads to prove that there's no skill in the area, and plus they need to put into jobactive.gov.au. It's redundant. One thing you got to do it 3 times, and if they can remove that, I think that would be fantastic to actually help. And I think another thing is to fasten up the application for regional employment visas, because at the moment they're all taking ages. They're 6 months at least. Anyhow, I think I agree with that too. Recommendation 4: consider improving global talent scheme and Hong Kong visa. Now this is cool because I've been doing Hong Kong visas for a long time, to ensure international competitive and high competitive global market, including review salary caps, age threshold, turnover requirement, considering key to criteria Hong Kong nationals. Okay, now that's very good. And now that connects back to what we begin with, showing the global Australia .gov.au. I think that initiative is already implemented. Whether or not they're gonna make it better, we'll see what happens. Recommendation 5: considering further increased program allocation numbers. So, in recognition of the high-skilled individual don't often migrate as sole traveler, and with often to accompany family member who are included in current program caps. Okay, so that basically saying that there's gonna have more people to come in. Okay, recommendation 6. Now this is interesting. Consider revision of GTES, Global Talent Employment Sponsor Program, is related to startup to ensure that there's broaden up industry and can access scheme. So again, that connects back to what we begin with, the global Australia.gov.au, where during the meeting that I attend on Friday, I noticed that the government is seeing the global talent employment sponsor program as a redundant. It's not working properly. They're looking to pull in to attract more startup and innovative business. So I think they will remove all that. And then put into the business innovation BIP program, including the global talent business innovators, should I say. Okay, recommendation 7: including KPI processing type of accrediting specialist third-party review eligible that visa category adaptive responsive market changing growth. I think that's going to be hard because public sector like Department of Immigration, sometimes they really need KPI, but to make them processing faster, that's a hard part. I'm not too sure that will actually make into a realistic pathway for the department to work on that one. Obviously, during the past 2 years, a lot of things have been in backlog. I think not a lot, all of them in backlog. All right, recommendation 8: introduce clearer policy and guidance to identify target sectors to aid interest and uptake for highly skilled individuals and business. I think this, I'm not too sure why they have this recommendation, because that basically is what we do all the time, isn't it? Anyway, the recommendation 9: provide greater permanent residency options for business and their employees contributing to Australian economy recovery. I totally agree with this, but I think they are looking to have a big amendment coming up in July, due to the they're cancelling out the subclass 132 and how they're gonna do with the 1AA. How can a 1AA visa be more attractive, or should they introduce more a new business visa for high-tech innovators? I'm not too sure how they're gonna do that. Anyhow, about the parliamentary inquiry into Australia's skill migration program on 3rd of February 2021, the minister, Alex Hawke, had put forward all this. So I think that's the end of the recommendations. So I think, to summarize that, I think what the KPMG had done is great, and those recommendations are 90% of them. I totally agree with. Obviously, the fast track is one thing, but I think it's very hard to do now, due to a lot the restrictions and around the world, and also the complexity of today's visa program. It's not that easy to actually get through everything. They need to put forward more resources, and that goes into budget, and the budget also connected to the economic growth of the nations. So you got to see the leaders of a nation, whether or not they're looking into migration. But the good part about this connect back to all the updates and news. I think a month ago, the Prime Minister Scott Morrison had said that the migration overhaul program, where they're looking to they start to looking at the economic problem of Australia and looking into migration program for a way to help the economy of Australia. So I think most of the recommendation will be accepted. Whether or how they're gonna implement it will be very, very interesting to know. So I think they're still focused on two things: global talent and the business. Now for the skill, they really looking into how they can make a regional skill easier to be accessed. Then the whole program will actually work really, really good. Anyhow, what is your thoughts about this whole recommendation? Or do you have more recommendation? Maybe you can submit to me, and in the comment right down below I can forward that to the immigration, see if that works. Anyhow, I see you in the next video. Goodbye.